What is up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Collection Commentary. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Todd Bag Steelcraft Mini Bodega. This knife is pretty sweet. It comes to us as a full production knife from Riate. So Todd approached Riate Knives, David, I believe is his name, and set up a scenario where Riate was making an affordable bodega for the masses. It had to be much smaller, as you can see here, compared to this regular sized bodega. And for those of you who haven't checked out a full-size bodega, let's get her lined up with a PM2, just so you can check that out. So it's a fairly small knife, especially because the bodega shape has this tapered curve. All they did with the design of this was shrunk it down. So the curve doesn't fit your hand as well as maybe the original design had intended, because it feels really good on a full-size bodega, but on the mini, if I wrap my hand around here, you can see my pinky's kind of like right here, which fits, it works, but it's tight in there. So definitely keep that in mind. It is very small. Now on this particular bodega, unfortunately, it does have some lock rock. It's an extraordinarily small amount. I don't even think it's going to show up on video. I can barely even feel it. It's so minimal. It's insane. I don't even actually see the knife move. It's more just that you can feel it kind of in the bearing. But if you're holding the knife and you've got some pressure on the lock bar, then the lock rock goes away. So it's just an extraordinarily, almost nano-sized issue between the steel lock bar insert and the blade tang itself that causes that. I don't believe that's an issue on many of them. I've only heard of it on this knife that I have myself. Now, the knife is really pretty, and I say that because it's a true sort of effort to really recreate the bodega in a production format. And the reason why I'm focusing on that is because the timing has lined up with this video where Riate and Todd Bag have released a full-size bodega in a Steelcraft variant as well. It's only like $460 retail, which is an amazing price. And on that knife, to bring the price down, they had to cut corners. And there were some really interesting corners cut that I'm surprised Todd was okay with. Instead of just selling the knife for more money, I think that a $560 to $600 Steelcraft full-size bodega would not have been unreasonable. They really like to keep those prices for the field grades right around the 460 mark. I've seen that with the Quakens as well. I'm not sure how much the Field Marshals went for, but I thought they were more, like closer to 700, the full-sized Steelcraft Field Marshals, but don't quote me on that. I could totally be wrong. That's just straight off my memory. But the interesting thing is that on the full-sized Steelcraft, they cut corners on the clip and on the milling. And so how they did that, I don't have like a picture or an example of the Steelcraft, but go ahead and look it up. They, instead of having these clip stands that are milled straight out of the titanium, which you can see makes the original piece of titanium very thick. So that's kind of a money waster. And you can see that on the genuine Bodega, the same thing happens. But even on this 2.0, they're not even milled straight out. They're actually not milled from the same piece of titanium, if you can see there. So the corner is cut even on the main Bodega, whereas this, which is based off the Bodega 1.0, still is milled straight out of the same piece of titanium. However, on the Steelcraft full-size Bodega, they've completely done away with the stands altogether, and the clip just kind of like falls down and is screwed into the side, which looks super lame. And then on top of that, instead of the classic scalloped milling pattern that we're all so used to seeing, This scallop healing pattern exactly matches this one, just on a smaller scale. That is completely done away with, and they have a very thick diamond pattern, which both looks great, but is also entirely not representative of the real Bodega. And so those are two big areas that I saw where they didn't do the knife justice. And then you can see like some areas where on this Steelcraft, even the mini, where they had originally cut some corners, which would be, of course, the separated piece of titanium for the lock bar, and then here you can see they have kind of like a 90-degree angle, whereas here it's a little bit more tapered so that you can create this shape that the Bodega is known for. So I just wanted to point out those comparisons for you guys, since I am publishing this video and it is the time when everybody's in a rush to get the full-size ones. I want you to know the difference, because these are a little bit cheaper, granted much smaller, but they do work to preserve some of the more primal or more original features of the Bodega 1.0, which I think a lot of people are looking for. Now, if you just want a big knife that looks pretty, for sure go for the full-size Steelcraft. I'm not saying it's a bad knife. I just want everyone to understand what they are missing out on in kind of the traditional Bodega design, as well as the fact that you can't get like the cracked ice clip on the full-size either, and stuff like that. So let's move on. This knife was made by Riate. It is a Chinese production brand. And I guess I pretty much talked about everything there, but it's pretty cool that they did a version of the Bodega that was a little bit more affordable for everyone. Now, next is the awesome detent on this knife. This thing absolutely flies out. It has a fantastic action. It will completely drop free when you have the lock bar pushed out of the way, as you can see here. And you can slap that shut with very minimal effort. But the deployment on it is fantastic. It's just got such a snappy detent. And I really have to say that the detent on the Mini is better than the detent on the full-size Bodegas. I have had a couple of the field grades. And the thing about these full-size Bodegas is they all have fairly light detents considering the size of the knife, which I'm not a super big fan of. And the Mini has a super snappy, super strong detent, which I am a little bit more appreciative of. So the action on this is actually better in a lot of ways. It doesn't fall shut the same way because these knives have significantly larger blades that assist with that. So it's not really a fair comparison. But this one is much snappier, and so I really, really appreciate that. What I also appreciate is the fact that at this price point, you are getting so many of those genuine features, like the cracked ice clip. They have gone and bothered to do cracked ice on the inside of the back bar, which is fantastic. I super appreciate that. It does come with the full IKBS ceramic bearings as well. So this knife is just about as legit as you can get at this price point when compared to the original that it's based off of. So I really got to recommend this one, guys. I think this is a sweet knife. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to sell this one to compensate for other purchases that were made, but I don't want to. And if I didn't have other Bodegas in my collection, I would be keeping this one because it's a sick little knife, and for the cost, I think it's a really great value. So I definitely recommend either picking one up new or on the private market for a really great price. As far as story time goes, you guys can tell that this knife has been anodized purple. It is an aftermarket anodization. You cannot get this in purple. And it means that, well, or as the story goes, I really didn't have this knife for most of the time that I owned it. Unfortunately, it took a while to get it anodized, and then when I got it back, I had to ship it back out due to an issue, which was fine. But so there's been a couple months where I've owned this knife and never actually got to have it or carry it. So it's gotten very little use, actually, which is kind of a bummer. And the fact that I have to let it go is kind of a bummer as well. But again, I definitely support it, guys. It's a really great little platform for customization if you do find a plain tie one like I did. I thought it was really cool to have a purple Bodega. Not a lot of people do. They're super rare. I might get this one turned purple. Who knows? But yeah, so that's the little story time here, is that I really didn't have this knife as much as I'd like to, but it's super sweet and it's worth every penny. And I definitely recommend that you guys pick one up. So if you guys would like to see videos with other knives, please remember to subscribe. If you like this video, please hit that like button. Follow me on Instagram at tovarishworks. If you would like to send me a knife for lovely loaners like this awesome ZT0392, you can do so by emailing me at tovarishworks@gmail.com. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you next time.